One Piece chapter 1105, it is titled The Height of Folly. We are continuing where we left off with Egghead, the fact that Saturn, he initiated the Buster Call. We also, I guess this chapter, you could say it was an update chapter of the situation, giving us updates on the locations of the different Straw Hats. Oda, he typically does this all the time where he creates some form of a disaster that has a time limit or something that the Straw Hats have to stop in order for the arc to progress. Some of the arcs, to give an example, we've seen it in Alabasta, we've seen it in Fishman Island, as well as Wano. Honestly, you could argue that we've seen this in every single arc. He does this in order to remind us, I guess you could say every few chapters, the sense of urgency, as well as giving us an update on the locations of the different Straw Hats. And I wanted to talk about this chapter today because even though it still didn't have much involved, not gonna lie, it was a little bit of a slower chapter, I still think that there are some important things that happened. But if you guys enjoy regular anime content, make sure you guys like the video, subscribe to the channel, and hit the notification bell so you guys never miss out on a new video. With that away, my name is Potential Unleashed, and let's talk about One Piece chapter 1105's breakdown. The Buster Call, it is indeed activated. It's kind of crazy to think about it, that this will be Robin's third time being a part of a Buster Call. Y'all know the GTA clip.
Oh shit, here we go again.
I feel like at this point, Buster Calls, they don't even faze her anymore. Vice Admiral Doll, she is calling out to Saturn and Kizaru to leave because of the Buster Call. It's about to start. However, Saturn and Kizaru, they will stay behind on the island. This is because they probably want to make sure that everyone is destroyed and everything is eliminated. I understand why Doll in this situation, she is concerned because a Buster Call, it is meant to destroy an entire island. However, Saturn and Kizaru, well, they're strong, they should be fine because Saturn, he has some form of regenerative abilities, and Kizaru, he is a Logia made of light, so any form of damage is not really going to do much to him. I also want to talk about the different parallels between Ohara and Egghead because surprisingly there was a lot of them. Going back to Ohara, when the world government destroyed the Tree of Knowledge, there were different individuals who were upset because of how valuable the information was. They claimed that getting rid of us, who were the scholars, should be enough. Same with Vegapunk. He claimed that I thought you were only after my life because all the research and advancement, it would set the One Piece world behind a century. Both Saturn and Spandine, they had similar responses where Spandine, he said, when you're not sure about something, the surest option is to eliminate it, and Saturn, he said something along the lines of you might still be hiding something. Hence why both Akainu and Saturn, they killed the survivors. Akainu sank the ship of the Ohara citizens because he didn't know if a scholar snuck on the ship, and the same with Saturn. Now we later find out that the ship was actually not destroyed, but at this point in the chapter we were under the assumption that the ship was destroyed because Saturn, he didn't want anyone with the possibility of knowing about the Void Century to be alive. I 100% agree with it, and I will say this with an asterisk. I do want to put that caveat out there because I don't want people thinking I'm some heartless monster. I don't think that they should be killed because morally it is wrong. However, from the sense of, because I guess you could say the world government, those individuals believe that they are right, they need to take care of any loose ends possible because they don't want any information about the Void Century being revealed. So if I was in Akainu and if I was in Saturn's situation, I would 100% do the same thing. And I also want to mention, I saw so many people talking about how Vegapunk, he is right in front of Saturn and Kizaru, and they mentioned how their top priority is killing Vegapunk, so why not just kill him? There was simple plot. I don't know what else you want me to say about that, so let's move on. As I mentioned earlier, this was pretty much an update chapter, seeing what's going on with the different Straw Hats. We saw that Frankie, Atlas, Bonnie, and Kuma, they made it to the vacuum rocket, and Saturn, he is going back to go after Vegapunk and rescue him. We also see Nami, Usopp, Chopper, and Robin for the first time in a long time. I also want to mention that Robin, she is getting rest here because apparently she was wounded back, I believe in chapter 1089. During the chapter where we found out that the Straw Hats, they had successfully captured York, she was missing among the Straw Hats. Now we don't know exactly what happened and what took place in that little gap the day the Straw Hats were fighting the Seraphim. However, we can deduce that Robin, she suffered some form of an injury. I also want to mention that apparently Jinbei, he is going after Zoro, and that way he doesn't get lost. Now, I've seen so many people talk about, oh, well, Lucci, he's doing Zoro dirty. Zoro, he has to fight Extreme Diff. Zoro, he has yet to use Ashura, so I'm not really concerned. I do think some people just have been giving Lucci the credit that he deserves. Also, if people think that he's going to accept, and I'm talking about Zoro in this situation, a 2v1, you'd be mistaken. You got to look back at what just recently happened when Frankie, he offered for help to fight against King, and Zoro, he declined that request. More likely than not, this is just Oda narratively finding a way for Zoro and Jinbei to switch opponents, because I am a firm believer that Zoro, he will eventually have some form of an interaction with Kizaru. Sanji, as he mentioned earlier, it's his goal to save Vegapunk, and I think that Sanji, he will have a cool clash, a cool moment going against Kizaru, similar to what we saw in Wano when he clashed against King, and then he fought that 2v1 against King and Queen as well. Sanji will definitely have his time to shine, but at the same time, well, we know how much Oda, he loves to glaze Zoro. Do you guys honestly believe that Zoro, he will leave Egghead without any interaction with Saturn and Kizaru, knowing that Zoro always fights the second strongest? I find that hard to believe. I think we'll be getting Luffy and Zoro versus Saturn and Kizaru, and I've made plenty of videos. I've been right about a lot of stuff. I've been wrong about a lot of stuff. If I'm wrong about this, hey, I'm just wrong. Brook, we got an update about him. Apparently, him and Lilith, they are transporting the Sunny, because originally they were going to use Vega Force 1 in order to transport the ship. However, well, Kizaru, he had other plans. So they are transporting the Sunny by riding on frozen clouds thanks to Brook's ability. Now, how are they going to escape? I'm not really sure. There's a lot of possibilities. Maybe the ancient robot, maybe some outside force comes to assist them. Like I mentioned, there are so many possibilities that they have. Egghead, it is getting destroyed. We see the pacifisted, they are laying waste to the island, and Vegapunk, he is sitting there just watching all of his hard work get destroyed. And I'm not going to lie to you guys, I don't necessarily feel that bad. Does it suck that his entire work is getting destroyed? Absolutely, but this is exactly what he deserves, because Vegapunk, he knows exactly what type of people the world government are, and he still decided to work for them. I say that this is the equivalent of, you look at it for sports, look at athletes who decide to sign a massive contract instead of taking a pay cut and going and trying to win a championship, because usually they sit up in here like, oh, well, I want a championship, and yet they sign these massive contracts with teams that don't have the type of roster construction or the capability to win a championship, and then they complain. It's like, dude, you know what you signed up for. The chapter, it ends with Kizaru that he cut the vacuum rocket, so that means that Kuma, Frankie, Atlas, and Bonnie, they are falling to the ground, and also Vegapunk, and I like this a lot. He mentioned that now that Bonnie became a pirate, there was a possibility that she would go against a pacifista who has Kuma's face on it and eventually could get killed by it, and that would be tragic. We also see Luffy, he is laying around the machine that produces food. He got his belly full. It's pretty funny, and people were talking about, oh, well, who won that matchup now that we see Kizaru's up and still fighting while Luffy, he is eating. I'm gonna leave that up to you guys. I'm gonna just call it a draw. I don't really feel like getting into it. I also want to mention the chapter ends with apparently the ship full of the researchers, they didn't get destroyed, and someone is headed towards Egghead. Who is on this ship? Not gonna lie, the way that Oda writes stuff, it honestly could be anyone. There's been so much speculation throughout the community. I'm only gonna name a few characters. But Hancock, she wants to help Luffy, she wants to be with him. However, after dealing with Blackbeard at Kuja Island, she has her own problems. Could also be Blackbeard. He's always the type of person who likes to take advantage of the chaos, but where he currently was, Law, he chose the farthest path from Luffy and Kid, and then the damage that he suffered, it wouldn't make sense for him to be there, as well as Katarina, Devon, and Lafayette are already at Egghead. The Revolutionaries, Dragon, he did ask where Kuma would potentially go. Sabo, he's always willing to help Luffy whenever he can, but I personally believe that we won't see the Revolutionaries truly in action until we get to the final war, because that's what their role is. Personally, I think that it's potentially the Grand Fleet, because in chapter 800 it was mentioned that they'll cause a great incident of historic proportions, and then they mentioned earlier that the Egghead incident is supposed to inflict a shock that the world never saw coming. The point of Egghead is to showcase why the Yonko, I mean, look at Buggy, he finally manned up and said he's going after the One Piece. Shanks and Blackbeard, they easily defeated Kid and Law, and Luffy, he fought against Kizaru, and you could say that they went toe to toe. Yonkos not only are known for their strength, but their influence as well, so what better way would it be than have his fleet show up? Now, do I think that it's everyone? Probably not. I think the two likely people are either Bachal Mail, because man, he is a Luffy meat rider. I think the better answer is probably Hajiden. This is because he is a warrior of Elbaf, and we know how close these islands are to each other, making him the closest Grand Fleet member. But there we have it. That's the breakdown for chapter 1105. Let me know in the comment section below who you guys think will arrive at Egghead Island. Thank you guys so much for watching. Don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe. Hit the notification bell so you guys never miss out on a new video from me. Instagram, Twitter, and TikTok that's on the screen and in the description below. Thank you guys so much for watching, and don't forget to unleash your potential.